Welcome to this video where I'm going to be showing you how to make this shot from the Lion King in Blender. Obviously we're not going to be making a lion, we're just making the environment here, and I want to show you how you can create this sort of advanced grass setup. And also just take you through my general thought processes and learning experiences when I create environments like this. So the first thing I did before anything else was set up a PureRef file with the screenshot of the shot I was trying to create so that I could always cross-reference it on my other monitor so that I could see what kind of assets I was looking for and the kind of lighting I needed. Everything at every step of the process I was always looking at this reference. So the first thing to do is to either start creating assets that are based on your reference, or to find an asset library and cross-reference what they have with your reference. So for me, I decided to use Quixel Megascans because they're really high quality assets, and right now they're actually free for the remainder of 2024. So you can claim all of them for free, which is just incredible because they used to be so expensive, and now you can get them all basically. So I decided to go ahead and just spent quite a bit of time really. The first few hours of this was me just sort of scrolling through, downloading different grass assets, trying to get as much variety as possible, because the more variety that you bring in, the more options that you give yourself, the more creativity you can have later on with picking and choosing what assets you want. From there I went through the very laborious and tedious process of setting up all these new assets in Blender. I started up a fresh Blender file so I could use the asset library feature. So if I made all my assets in this one Blender file, I could then point Blender to that file and have it load them all in the asset browser. From here I jumped into a fresh Blender file and set up a basic plane that I subdivided a bunch of times, and then used proportional editing to create a little hill. The shape for this plane is just based purely on the reference, and then I lined up my camera with this, tweaked the plane a little bit more, just trying to match the framing of the shot that I'm trying to create. Using some extrudes and adding in some more loop cuts to get the plane to be the correct size in the frame. To get more of a lumpy effect on this ground plane so it wasn't so smooth, I decided to add some displacement to this, and the way I like to work is to work everything in Geometry Nodes so everything's all nice and clean and all together. So I added in a new Geometry Nodes group on this ground plane, used a set position, a noise texture, and just combined it into the Z component of an XYZ so that it only affected the up and down component of the plane. And then I just played around with the settings on the noise texture. I found that hetero terrain worked pretty well, and then used a math node set to multiply to turn the strength down of this a little bit, and just generally played with the scales and the roughness on this node until I got a result that looked a little bit more natural, like you would expect to find in like a rough field. But yeah, just make sure that you use a subdivision before all of this with a lot of subdivisions, because you're going to need a lot of geometry to get the displacement working properly. So at this point it's time to start scattering on the base plane now, and this is really the highlight of the scene, so it's quite important how I decided to do this. I decided to do it manually inside of the same Geometry Nodes group because I felt that this would give me the most control, but you could easily use an add-on like BaggerPie or something like that to do this. So to start with, I just simply distributed some random points onto this mesh, and then instanced on those points a collection of grass that I brought in from my asset browser. So I just dragged that collection info into the node tree, plug it into the instances input, and tick all the checkboxes here to separate, reset, and pick the grass assets. And then to globally scale it down, what I like to do is add a transform geometry after the instances and just plug a value into the scale, which will globally scale down all those grass assets. Then I can plug in like a random float value into the scale to control that a bit more, and to randomize the rotation, I plugged the rotation of the distribute points into an vector math add node, and then plugged in a random vector into that and plugged that into the rotation. And this way I could get them to spin across like a particular axis while still following the normal of the geometry. But that was really it for the scatter. I just joined it up with the original ground plane. So at this point I started to play around with a material on this ground plane. I just dropped in something I had in the asset browser, gave it like this dirt material. The UVs were stretched to where I extruded this, so I just went into edit mode and gave it some new UVs. I scaled them up a little bit as well to match the scale of the texture a bit better. And from there I started dropping in a few HDRs, rotating them around a little bit to see what worked for the scene and what matched the reference in the best way possible. There were some distinct shadows present in the reference, and to recreate these I dropped in a directional light and gave it like a natural colour using a black body node, and then I dropped in some shadow blockers, which were just simple cubes, and trying to recreate the look of the shadows in the reference. And this, in combination with the HDR, gave me a decent base for the lighting to work with. You'll see later on in the process I actually get rid of this directional light, but it was actually a useful thing to have to sort of get the shadows working properly. At this point I went back onto the ground plane and started developing that a little bit more. So I brought in some of these weed/bush assets that I found from Quixel again, and I just started dropping those in to try and match the framing and composition of the reference a bit more. It's something I really like doing. And then from there I duplicated up my entire scatter setup in GeoNodes and joined it together with my previous one to basically get another variation of grass in there. So I just picked another collection to scatter and just started to see how that was looking. Then I temporarily turned off the grass scatter so I could focus on the material of this floor plane a little bit better. And what I ended up doing was blending between two different setups. So I had a soil setup and a grass setup. These are two different materials that I had in my scene, so I just brought the grass material in on like a separate object. And then what I did was group up all the shaders associated with each material. So all the shader nodes associated with the grass and the soil became their own node group. And then on the ground plane material, I was able to combine these two using a mix shader and a mix vector node to mix the displacements. And then I could just plug in some value to mix between these two. And as that value, I wanted to use a vertex group, but you can't directly reference a vertex group in the shader editor in Blender for some reason, so I had to use geometry nodes to work around this. So I essentially just added a stored named attribute node in geometry nodes at the very beginning, plugged in my vertex group as a named attribute, and just named it the same thing, so I just was overwriting it. And then in the shader I could reference that attribute through the attribute node, called it the same thing, plugged it into the factor of both the mix nodes, and then wherever I weight painted became green grass in the final render. I tweaked the color of the grass shader a little bit using a hue saturation value node on the base color of it to give it a bit more saturation and make it a little bit darker to match the reference a bit better. I then went ahead and tweaked the scale using a mapping node and texture coordinate node plugged into all of the vector inputs on my textures, and just turned the scale way up to make the grass a little bit smaller in detail. Turning back on the grass scatters, I now wanted to start implementing vertex groups for where the grass should scatter, so I could paint where I wanted certain areas of grass to appear. And to do this in geometry nodes, it's very easy. The same way that we brought in the grass mask for the material painting, we can just bring in another named attribute and plug that into the density of each of our scatters to control where each grass should be scattered. To add a little bit more density for particular grass instances, I added in a multiply node in between here to turn up the density for each scatter. And this worked really well for controlling where I wanted to paint, like the dry grass versus the green grass, and I could paint it all based on the camera view, which is a really nice way of working, and it's a way I would recommend working. And again, bringing in some different grass assets from the library and scattering those around. You'll notice sometimes the shaders don't quite work right from what I set up, so I have to go in and tweak them a little bit and bring up the values and turn down some of the more fancy shader components to get them to work a little bit better. And then I just create various vertex groups, reference them in geometry nodes to control where I want each individual scatter to be placed. And this gives me a really nice intuitive way to just paint where I want each particular set of grass assets to be. You'll notice I actually set up like a clay viewport in the bottom right here, and that's just to show me a little bit more clearly where the grass actually is in solid mode, just so I can see the actual patterns I'm creating, and I can decide whether I want to tweak the shaders or the actual geometry patterns more. At this point my main focus was slowly building up the amount of grass I had to start to fill the ground plane completely without making it look too repetitive. So I brought in some new grass assets that I downloaded, and these ones were a bit more lower to the ground and more spread out, so I thought they might work a bit better to help fill stuff in a bit more. So I went ahead and brought those in and replaced the grass scatter I was using previously, which was more like a wispy grass, with this more clumpy grass. And I think that looked much better, and started painting and filling out more of the scene with that. Then I started experimenting with just having like tons of grass just like covering the entire plane, just so I could start to like understand how that was going to look and what needed to change about it to give it more variation. Again, throughout you'll see me constantly tweaking the base color of these materials in the shader editor just to make all the grass sort of sit together in the same world. Oftentimes the assets you download, the colors will not, align on like the same sort of palette, so you have to manually tweak that a little bit. From here I started to play a lot more with the lighting again, because I was sort of starting to get happy with the grass scatter on the plane. It wasn't perfect, but it was to a level where I thought I needed to work on something else for a little bit. So I started to look at how to light this just with a HDR and without the sun lamp. A nice tip when working with HDRs is to actually plug the color of the HDR into the strength. And what that will do is essentially make it so that the bright parts of the HDR emit more light than the dark parts. And that's a really nice way to get a lot more contrast in the shadows. So here the sun will become a lot brighter, and the rocks and the sky will become a lot darker. Then you can go ahead and sort of control that with a multiply node to turn down the contrast, and then to bring up the overall values of the HDR you can use an add node after that. And you'll see the difference this makes to the lighting before and after I do this. It just brings out so much more of the sun and so much more contrast in everything. I spent a lot of time tweaking the HDRs before I sort of figured this out, trying to play with like the base colors of them, tinting them and rotating them around, trying to play with the sun lamp, playing with like a volume shader across the whole scene and stuff, but none of it was really like working too well until I decided to do this little HDR trick. So yeah. At this point in sort of any 3D scene creation, it can feel like you've almost got to the end, but really there's a lot more to go, because you're sort of 80% there, but that final 20% takes a lot more tweaking than you would think to get there. So there's a lot of tweaking every part of the process at this stage. So tweaking the scatters, bringing in more different tones of grass, changing the colors of said grass, and maybe changing the lighting a little bit, changing the contrast of stuff. But generally there's just a lot of tweaking that happens at this stage. And then after hours and hours of tweaking, once I finally get to a point where I feel like I'm ready to render this out, I start to think about compositing a little bit and just bringing in the final 10% using some grading techniques. So in Blender we can composite in real time now, so I just enabled the viewport compositor and then jumped into the compositing node tree. And here I just started by adding in a hue saturation value node, desaturating the whole frame a little bit, and then using a color balance node to play with the colors of the midtones and the highlights slightly. So just tinting things a little bit more like African Pantones, so like a little bit more like orangey red tones really. And trying to contrast it a little bit with some blues in the shadows as well. And the nice thing about doing this is while you're sort of doing your compositing, you can still go back and tweak any of your scatters and assets in the viewport. So for here, for example, I thought that there needed to be some more red tones in this, so I brought in this sort of sandstone rock and placed that in the background. And I noticed in a reference as well at this point that there was like a slight hint of a river in the background that I thought would be quick and easy to add in, so I just added in this plane in the background, gave it like a very simple water material just by giving it like a noise distortion, making it transmissive, and that worked pretty well for a little water shader in the background. And then some final compositing tweaks, just again desaturating, making everything a bit more red, a bit more of the same tone. Again, playing with the lighting contrast slightly as well at this stage, playing with the shadows again. All this final tweaks coming in. I also like to use a hue correct node sometimes to like desaturate the reds a little bit and bring up some of the different tones that you can specify. Quite useful as well. And also just playing with like the AGX settings, setting things to be punchy instead of just base contrast can help. And then something I always add for photoreal renders is a blur node at the end of my compositing, so that everything just gets slightly taken away from a perfectly crisp render, which I think really helps. A lot of tweaking the shader colors as well comes into the compositing stage, because there's a lot of back and forth with the colors of the assets and the colors of the grades, so that can happen a lot at this stage too. And then to add in a simple vignette, I just use an ellipse mask, blur it and multiply it over the top of everything. It's a very cheap way to add something to your renders. And overall, I was pretty happy with the result. I think it looked quite similar to the shot from The Lion King. Obviously, The Lion King's way better than this, but I think given that we could make this for free, you know, in just like an afternoon, really, I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, hopefully you learned something from my process, and you saw that things do take time to make in 3D, and I wanted to show you every step of the way so that you can see all the sort of tweaking that goes into this and all the mistakes that happen along the way as well. But yeah, thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far, and I hope to see you in the next videos.